G'day, how you doing, man? So I have taken a couple of days to put this video out because, to be quite honest with you, I was and still am raging, absolutely raging inside. I've managed to kind of get hold of it a little bit at this point, so I figured I could have a bit of a chat. I've been meaning to get a podcast up and running over the last few days. It's been pretty busy, pretty hectic. I'll probably get to that tomorrow, but it's probably for the best because I don't know if I would have been able to be cool, and say what I wanted to say. There's so much bullshit going on at the moment. Basically, this is all around, not all around, but what sparked me off the latest thing has been the new border protection policy from Mark McGowan, which is effectively shut out everyone returning to WA until the 5th of February. With a mandatory quarantine period of 14 days. That doesn't matter if you're double vaxxed and you've returned negative COVID PCR tests. You still have to quarantine for 14 days. So we were booked to go to. You're right, pup. We were booked to go to Darwin for 10 days for Christmas. Super excited about it. Kids were all excited about it. We've never been to Darwin, so we were super pumped about it, And just yesterday afternoon, this new mandate, law, rule, whatever you want to call it, has come out about the quarantine for 14 days for everybody returning to WA until the 5th of February. And it's just absolute bullshit, man. Our government is so far out of control. They lie consistently, just completely talk out of their ass. We were told when we were double vaccinated and the state reached 80%, that we would be able to travel freely and we'd be able to have our freedoms back, like as if that's messed up in the first place, that you have to be a good boy to get your freedoms given back to you by the government. Like how did we get here? How the hell did we get here? And I don't understand how they got so much control, how we're letting them get away with it. Everybody I talk to, most people I talk to are of the same mind as me, that these pricks have too much power. They're abusing their power. We want to get back to normal. So who are they doing this for? Who are the people that the minority that we're pandering to? I don't quite understand it. It has to be in the best interest of the government to keep us as a people under their control, under this tight, restricted way of living that they've enforced on us over the last 20 months, because it's not in the interest of the majority of the people. It's times like this I really wish I knew more about politics and how things worked, because is there not a way where we can have a referendum and vote on our leadership in a time of crisis like this and see what the general public, what the majority of us want? Because I could basically guarantee you that the majority of us do not want to live like this. We don't want this guy in charge. I'm talking about WA specifically here now, and I feel like there's probably the same sentiment throughout the other states with their premiers as well. Why do these guys got so much bloody power? They're going against what the World Health Organization are recommending. They're going against recommendations from Scott Morrison himself, who just seems to be some little timid man who we never hear from anymore. All we hear from is the premiers, who are acting like little mini dictators in their fiefdoms. They've effectively separated Australia into a bunch of different states that act independently, and you cannot travel freely throughout them. And this is one country. This is Australia under one flag. How can we not travel freely throughout our own country? This is not what Australia is built on. We're an island. We are an island continent. We are our own entity. Our problem should be our problem. There's COVID in Australia. It should be COVID in Australia. We deal with it together. We don't shut each other out and segregate ourselves from each other. And the government are sowing this segregation and bickering and amongst its people, and it's the vaccinated and the unvaccinated, and it's the West Australians and the Queenslanders and the Northern Territorians, people in remote communities. They're separating us into all these different groups, and the whole, like, what we've been working together what we've been working for so long is about all being in this together. We're trying to move away from segregation and singling people out on different profiles of whether it's race, religion, ethnicity, race, religion, your beliefs, sociological status, and then all of a sudden they're enforcing that on us. And this whole idea about the government keeping us safe, and that's the premise they're running all this bullshit on. When did we ask the government to keep us safe? The government are there to make sure the schools are open and the roads don't have holes in them, and the electricity companies and the water all runs. They're there to look after administrative purposes, the administration of the country. They're basically our administrators. Somehow they've become our bosses, our dictators, and they're telling us it's because they're trying to protect us. We don't want you to protect us. If something goes wrong, someone breaks the law, you feel in danger, you call the police. The police are there to protect you. The government's not there to protect you, because when you hand over your protection to the government, you have to make a trade-off. The trade-off is your freedom, because once your protection, your safety is at the discretion of the government, then how they go about that is at their discretion as well. And what they do is, obviously, as we've seen, is they take away your freedom. So you're trading off your freedom for the feeling of being safe, of somebody looking after you. It's every man, woman and every man and woman's job to look after yourself and keep yourself safe. And it's our job to keep our children safe. That's our responsibility. Don't sell that off to someone else at the cost of freedom and liberties. That's not how it works, mate. And I strongly believe it's only a minority of scared people in this country and in this state who are willing to make that trade-off. Who are these people, mate? Because they're not us. They're not the average everyday Australian, who wants to live his life and her life and move around freely and see their family on other parts of the state, other parts of the country, other parts of the world. We've been prisoners of our own states and sometimes regions for nearly 2 years now, man, and it's not getting any better. It's worse than it was 12 months ago. They fear-mongering, they're controlling the media and the narrative, and again, they are telling us what we want, how we feel, how we need to be looked after, and this minority of people who are terrified about life in general, and specifically COVID, are willing to buy into it for a disease that kills 0.3% of the people that it affects. I'm sorry, that is not worth trading our freedoms off. And I care about people, the vulnerable people. My parents are in the vulnerable age bracket. It's up to us to look after them to look after themselves, get vaccinated, look into other therapeutical remedies like monoclonal antibodies, which is now, I spoke about before. That's been approved by the TGA in Australia. There's other things that we do, and really, we're paying the price for the government not investing enough money in the healthcare system. The healthcare system, they're terrified it's going to collapse under the weight of this pandemic. That's it's not every man, woman, and child's fault, and we shouldn't be made to bear the brunt of that, because we haven't been asked. Where are the polls? Where are the polls asking us what we want to do? Do we want to trade off so-called safety, the feeling of safety, for our freedoms? Do we want to stay locked in WA for another 2 months? Do we want to stay locked in our country? Do we want to wear masks everywhere we go? We had to just cancel our Darwin holiday because the new border quarantine laws, and even if we got there, NT is ridiculous as well. We were going to have to do a PCR test, which is the big swab up your nose, 3 days before we left, return a test 3 days before we left, one at the airport, one 3 days after arrival, one 6 days after arrival, downloaded this G2G app where we tell them where we are every moment of the day, and we have to check in. And as soon as they send you a check-in notification, you have to put your face to it, recognises your face. Big Brother looks at your face, recognises your face, and you've checked in. If you don't check in, they send another one 5 minutes later. If you don't answer to that, they call you on the phone. If you don't answer your phone, they send the police out to look for you because you're on holiday. So you're being punished for going on Christmas holiday, and we would have also had to be restricted to the greater Darwin area. So basically the Darwin CBD, we weren't allowed to go to any national parks or leave, within like a half an hour, 20 minutes. We're not allowed to go 20 minutes out of the CBD of Darwin. And then now with the new quarantine, we'd have to do the PCR test 3 days before we left Darwin, one at the airport, one 3 days later, one 6 days later, and one at the end of your 14-day quarantine, mandatory quarantine, even though we've got negative tests, even though we haven't been to a high-risk area, even though we're double vaccinated. It's complete and utter bullshit. The control is absolutely out of... I'm saying it out loud, and it's happening to us as people. It's happening to me and my family, and I can't quite believe it. How the fuck did we get here? How do we get here and how do we get out? Surely we got to stick together on this one. We got to stand up. 2022 has to be the year we take our power back from this government. It's terrible. I've never said this before. I've never felt like this before, but I am embarrassed and ashamed to be Australian right now. This is a shit country to live in right now. They've ruined our country. It is a shit place to live. I hate being here. I hate what they're doing to us. I'm embarrassed to say that we're Australian because we are just lied down and let our government absolutely take over our lives. Don't understand it. I don't understand it. I didn't know that they had this much power. I know Dan Andrews has passed a bill where they can, in Victoria, where they can mandate quarantines and lockdowns and detention for people at a whim, with no pandemic, with no state of emergency, without oversight from the Parliament. And I damn bet you that the rest of the premiers are going to be looking to follow suit of that as well. This is like some episode of Black Mirror, and we are living in a dystopian future where our government has slowly but surely, not even that slowly, just steadily taken all of our freedoms away. All of them, man. We don't have any freedoms. We can't. They can tell you can... If you come February, when they want to open up to the rest of the world, it'll be a load of bullshit again anyway. There'll be a new variant, they'll fucking lock it down again. And you have to wear a mask everywhere you go. You have to fucking show vaccine reports. You have to show that you're vaccinated to go to the shops, to go to pubs and clubs and any recreational facilities and gyms. And like, what kind of, like, you treat like a terrorist? What kind of fucking world are we living in? What kind of country are we living in, man? We sit there and point the finger and talk shit about the American government and the American people so much. They have a constitutional right to freedom and they can't fuck with their people like that. And we have just rolled over and taken every single beating this country, this government's given us. I don't know where we go from here. We've got to do something. People have got to start standing up and waking up. It's not going to blow over, man. I thought it was going to blow over. I thought we get vaccinated, we get all our numbers up, and they get out of our way, and we just move on with our lives, and slowly things get back to normal. It's not going to happen. It's not happening. They are taking control of our lives. We are in the gutter. We need to get up, back on our feet, man. It's terrifying what's going on. Terrifying what's going on. I don't know how we got here. I just had to get this one out. It's been stewing in my head and stuff for a while. I've calmed down enough to talk about it, at least for the minute. Podcast coming soon as well. If you want to hear any more of my stuff and see what my opinion is on this one and leave me some comments and all that sort of stuff, go to my YouTube page, Average Man Podcast. There's obviously the podcast itself, Average Man Podcast, and the Instagram, Average Man Podcast. They're my three main forums. If you agree with what I'm saying and you want to get behind me, you want to help this movement kick off a little bit, I really would love for you to give us a follow and a subscribe. And sorry, man, my phone just popped up telling me shit. The government's probably watching me, man. They're trying to shut me down. Just go and give me a follow and a like and share the shit, share the videos, and just get people on board. And this can be one other avenue that we get together and move towards the same goal, because we've got to get together, man. And I strongly urge people, don't listen to the media, what the mainstream media are telling you. They are lying. They are on board with the government's narrative. It's been proven that they're underreporting protests, over-reporting statistics. They report the statistics that sort of work towards their narrative, and they twist the way they say things so that it sounds like they're saying something, but it's not really the way that story unfolds. There's a bunch of examples I can give you. I'm not going to do that right now. Look into it yourself. They're lying to you. The government's lying. They've lied so many times without even batting an eyelid. They don't give a fuck what we think. They just lie to us. They tell us one thing, and then as soon as a deadline or a checkpoint approaches, they just say, nah, we've changed it. It's this now. And we just accept it. And then we go to the next point. Nah, sorry, it's not happening. It's this now. This has to happen. We're moving in another few months. We need the kids to get vaccinated. You're not going to be able to go outside without a mask on. It's getting worse and worse and worse, and it doesn't make any sense. So please help stand up for our rights. Don't stay asleep anymore. I was asleep. I thought it was going to blow over. It's not. It is not. Subscribe, like, follow, share, all that sort of shit. Yeah, man, we've got to stand up and do something. That's it. Peace out.